Mellor, Utah, Master of Science in Information Technology.
Guys, I got a master's degree as fast as I possibly could, and this is what happened. No, honestly. So what really happened was back when I was active duty, I was working in Minot, North Dakota as an electrician for the Air Force. And while I was there, I was thinking, I honestly should probably go to school. The Air Force was willing to pay for most of my degree. And so I thought, I should probably take advantage of this opportunity. So what I really wanted to do was I wanted to get into IT work. And I specifically wanted to do IT for the military. And I didn't know exactly how to get there. I was having a really hard time trying to cross-train while I was active duty. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to have to start learning about this thing that I want to do, and hopefully that will open up an opportunity. Now, in my case, I went to American Public University, which is an online school, and I did information technology and information assurance. But the nice thing about American Public University is you take one class at a time, and then, this works really well with having a full-time job, which it did for me. And I liked being able to just focus on one subject. So, I could see my degree plan, I knew how long it was going to take me, and I just took one class at a time. Well, right about when I was about to get out of active duty, I realized that I wasn't quite done, but I was close enough that I felt like my degree could still be an asset in getting a future job, and it turned out it did. See, when I applied for another position, they saw that I had a master's degree, and even though it wasn't finished, it was very close to being finished. And so I looked good on paper, and I was able to get this amazing job. And, I was really grateful for that opportunity. And while I was working there, I was able to finish my degree, and I recently had the opportunity to walk. Now, with this video, I wanted to share with you, some things about my experience to help you answer the question whether or not you should get a master's degree. Now, in my particular case, what happened with me was I got my bachelor's degree at Brigham Young University, Idaho. Now, while I was there, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, so my degree is just a general degree, and because of that, I kind of always had this funny feeling. I'm like, I really need to pick something to focus on. So the first benefit that I got was when I got my degree in information technology, now I feel like I have something specific that I can show people. And this is one of the reasons you may want to get a master's degree, is if your bachelor's degree wasn't specific or isn't in line with your current goals, it can feel really nice to get another degree that you can show on your resume, and you can just leave your older education history off your resume, which is what I've done. Now, that was great, and American Public University is a great college for doing this. It's affordable, you take one class at a time, you get to focus in on that specific subject, and the way that the classes work, they are basically like more or less along the lines of, you will write papers throughout the class, you will do group discussions and discussion boards, and then you may have some projects and or other deliverables. But the structure is basically the same. It's more or less writing papers and contributing to these online discussions. And so because of that, you can quickly figure out the flow, which allows you to keep your schooling as only part of your afternoon, allowing you to work and then have some of your afternoon still off to do your own things. So you're not just bogged down heavily with school. And so that was something that I really liked about it. And, it was honestly pretty affordable, even if I had to pay for the classes all on my own. But here's the thing. Now, here's where the negatives come in. The first thing that I noticed during my experience was I felt like the content that I was learning, especially at the master's level, and maybe this is normal, but for me it felt very theoretical. And I would have appreciated more getting certifications and actually doing projects where you were hands-on with things, where you were learning information you could directly use versus just conceptualizing things related to IT. So if you're getting a master's, expect to potentially not have it as hands-on as you might prefer, to feel very theoretical. The next thing that I noticed was because I wasn't physically in a class with other students, the online discussions felt somewhat superficial. And so because of that, you just kind of have to realize that, you're going to get out of the discussions what you put in, and not everybody's going to take it seriously. Now, if you've made it this far in this video, you now have the privilege of hearing about my worst experience with American Public University. So listen to this. So my last class, this is when I was doing my thesis. The thesis I was doing was on the subject of DNA storage and of using quartz as a way of storing data. So this was something I was really interested in, and it was in a project that was approved. And I was taking my class, and what was funny is it was like I was taking the class by myself. It was honestly really frustrating. I would try to reach out to the professor, and he would only reply in a way that was never answering my question. It was like he was always sidestepping whatever I was directly asking, and he would never provide me anything truly useful. And then I could tell when I was going through the discussions. Now, this wasn't normally my experience, but in this particular case, he was absolutely copying and pasting his answers to things. Like it was almost like Chat GPT was, the professor for my class. And because I couldn't connect with the professor, I couldn't get my questions answered. And, this is another thing that was weird is all of my assignments were coming back with A's, which sounds great, but there's no way that every single paper was perfect. And so it made it as though it was like he was not really reading my assignments, or maybe I'm just amazing at writing. I don't know, but it felt very frustrating. And by the time I got to the end of that class, that was the first time I ever left an absolutely terrible review, because it was probably my worst academic experience ever. Because it just feels so superficial if you're not really connecting with other people and you're not really, learning anything. And while that wasn't my whole experience, that was that specific class. And that kind of soured the experience of APU in general, because that was my last class and my thesis when, the culmination of all the work I've been doing. And so because of that, what I wanted to let you know is when you're going for your master's, just prepare for maybe the fact that this might happen to you. Either it could be somewhere during the process of getting your degree, or maybe it's at the end, but not everything is going to feel the way you wish it would feel. And for me, what really made this experience weird was I didn't realize I actually had graduated when I was done with that class. See, on my degree plan, it looked like there were 2 classes, and I didn't really understand that you were supposed to take just one out of the 2. And when I finished that last class, what was weird is there was, just crickets. Nobody reached out to me like, oh, congratulations, you finished your program. And so I actually had to call and I was like, something's not right. I can't seem to sign up for this other class. Like, do I need to take this? They're like, oh, no, you're done. Congratulations. And I'm like, okay. And so because of that, I knew I really needed to walk because it just didn't feel real. So I had the experience to actually walk for my degree. And when I went up there, I was amazed. There were so many students that were graduating. And for example, like there were 3 students that were getting their PhDs from the school. Then there was this huge group of us that were getting our master's degrees. And then there was an even larger group that were getting their bachelor's. So you had to sit there and wait for just hundreds of students to have their names read and their degrees conferred. And I remember just, my row was one of the last ones to go, it felt like. And so we were just sitting there for forever. And, finally we get up there and we have this card that we were each given. And so you show the card to the person who, is doing that process, and they click on it, and it actually, an automated voice read off, your name, the degree you got, and, whatever. And it was done with a QR code, which I thought was kind of cool. So I got to walk across the stage and shake the hand of the guy that runs the school and to, get my degree. And then we walked out of the room and left. And that for me was something that I needed because this experience was so different than what I expected. I kind of needed the closure to know that, this was really legit. I mean, I knew it was legit. I'd received my degree in the mail, but it just didn't feel that way because especially the last class was so odd. And, really the takeaway here is, my degree, even before I had finished it, it had opened up an opportunity for me to get a great job. And your degree can do that. But it's not necessarily required. See, what's very interesting is my brother and I, we both work in IT, and he makes about the same I do, I think a little bit more. We both have great jobs, yet I used the military and education to make what I wanted to happen, but he used the same cert as me and got the same type of work just on the civilian side. And because of this, basically, what I'm coming to believe is, getting a degree used to be the way to do things, but I really don't feel like it is anymore. I would encourage you to see if you can accomplish your goals with a certification or experience, networking, things like that, versus specifically getting this degree. I mean, in my case, I've been very blessed to be able to remain debt-free because I have used the military's benefits in order to go to school, and my parents paid for some of my education, which I am very grateful for. I mean, I'm grateful that I'm debt-free, but all that time and energy was spent going to school, and it wasn't necessarily the path that I needed to go in order to get to where I wanted to get to. So just keep your mind open that the world is changing and that there are other things that you could potentially do to get to where you want to go. And if you enjoyed this video, you might also like my video about my experience running a business on Etsy. And I will link that video right here on the screen, and I'll see you over there in that video.